Well, hello, Leeds United fans. It is Connor. We're in a bit of a different environment today. We are in, I think it was the Cheadale Walk. Thought I'd get out. It's an absolutely gorgeous day, as you can see. Recording on my new little gadget as well, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, today I wanted to speak about Leeds United, as always, but I wanted to take you on a little bit of a walk as well. And I do have a special guest with me today. And we're going to be talking Leeds, and we're going to be talking post-international break and Leeds' fixtures and where we think we're going to get to. So, without any further ado, here he is.
You all right?
The man with the plan. We found him.
Yeah. We are in the beautiful Peak District on a fabulous walk. It's Millerdale to Cheadale, isn't it?
It is
We're
indeed.
Just about to come across the stepping stones. It's supposed to be fantastic. So yeah, lovely day.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, isn't it?
It's all pretty good, isn't it?
It is indeed. But what do we really need to talk about, Dad? What's the...
Well, most on our mind is Leeds, of course, Connor, like it always is, isn't it?
It's funny because on this walk, normally when we're on walks, there's Leeds come up within 3 or 4 minutes.
It does. It's always at the back of our heads, isn't it, somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got this hideous international break to get through, haven't we, over the next few daw
Well,
look forward to the next match. It's actually just over 8 days away now.
Well, we were talking about it last night. I've never known... I mean, we were talking about it in February as well, weren't we, about the break coming up again in Feb, I think it is, you said. Is it March?
Isn't it? Yeah.
And
yeah.
it just feels now that football's, it's just so stretched, isn't it? And you've seen Tanaka go away. I think you've seen Solomon actually go. I don't know if you know that. Solomon's gone away. I'm not sure if he's going to be featuring. I don't know why he's gone, but there's players that have gone. You think to yourself, I know Rodri was talking about it and how it's impossible for players to be fit with the amount of time they're playing, and you see 3 or 4 international breaks, and especially with the Championship and how rigorous and vicious the league can be. Yeah. It's you do look at players like Tanaka, big trips, and Brendan Aronson and all this sort of stuff regularly, and it's a bit of a problem with the calendar, isn't it, at the minute, it feels?
Yeah, it is. You know, I mean, I know that obviously we've got international players there that you just mentioned, so I'm not quite sure what they're competing in terms of their tournaments abroad, but certainly for us, I mean, I still don't understand this Nations League, Connor, do you? I still don't understand it.
No.
I mean, I know it's supposed to be adding a competitive edge to football rather than playing friendlies, but is there really a need for it? Is there really a need? I don't think there is. Just another opportunity, let's be honest, for players to pick up injuries.
And we all switch off, don't we, as well, in the international break? I mean, as a content creator, it's difficult to do so. But you find yourself switching off from football a little bit. And I guess it's kind of a good thing from a mentality point of view, because we all get something invested in not just Leeds United, but football in general. I mean, it was interesting. Guardiola was talking about it the other day, and he was saying, I'm going to really enjoy it. And you never think of it from a manager's perspective, do you? Like, from managerial-wise, it's probably quite a good thing for someone like Daniel Farke.
I mean, probably more for the players that are not going to be featuring for the countries, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what plans Farke and all the rest of the managers out there have for those players when they're still at home. They'll definitely have training plans. I'm sure they'll give them a break. So, yeah, it can be great from a recuperation point of view. Fresh ideas, perhaps. Maybe some extra homework for Ilan Melier, because he definitely needs it.
Yeah, he does indeed. So, games coming back. 2 big games for Leeds United, Sheffield United and Watford. If you just stick on the first 2 teams in the top 6, 2 teams with really good starts to the campaign. I think we're thinking Sheffield United, they're going to be right up there at the end of the season, aren't they? Yeah, formed team at the minute as well.
Yeah, we were chatting about it, weren't we, last night? You know, when you look at the teams that are going to be in the mix, you know, Sheffield United, Burnley, they're certainly going to be there. You know, I can see it almost, I wouldn't say a 3-team battle for 2 places towards the end, but you can see it sort of developing that way. Watford's not going to be easy either, even though there were a few pundits, weren't there, Connor, right before the start of the season, suggesting that Watford might struggle this year. But yeah, we've got those 2 coming up. I'm really confident about Sheffield United. You know, it's next Friday, isn't it? Thursday today, 8 days away. You know, we really should be looking at winning that game. It'd be great to stick one in Wilder's face as well, let's be honest, won't it?
I think it's quite good as well, because we are punching a little bit now, because you do see where Leeds are. Obviously, we've made the investments we have, and we've got Ramazani, and we've sold a mass amount of players. But we are still punching above our weight a little bit this season, because we're not one of the 3 relegated sides, and we shouldn't theoretically be one of the favourites. It's always the 3 that come down, and for pundits to be looking at Leeds as the favourites, which they all were at the beginning of the season, and some still are, it is quite the compliment to Leeds, isn't it?
It is a compliment, yeah. And we've still got some quality players. We were chatting about it last night, weren't we? How Nonso just seems to be head and shoulders above any other player in the league at the moment. And I actually ventured last night, and I said to you, maybe he could even supersede Somerville this year. And you says, oh, well, that's a big ask. It's not necessarily from a goals point of view, Connor. It's how he contributes to the team, and he's contributing massively at the moment, isn't he? So it's you may say we're punching, but they'll be looking at players like Nonto and the quality of the players that we've got at the club, and rightly so. Whether we're favourites or not, but we're certainly one of the favourites.
Yeah, I think so, and it's a good place for Leeds to be in. And I want to get your thoughts on Peru as well. What do they do with him now? What do they do with Matteo Joseph? Peru comes in, he's scoring. I mentioned this the other day that I think he got 12 goals last season. You were talking about it, to be fair to you, a lot last year on Generation Leeds about him scoring. So you can't argue with it. For his first season, I've said it very much of last season. People wanted him out because he wasn't doing what Joseph does, and that's when Bamford came in. But still, at that point, Peru was scoring, I think, a goal every 3 games.
And he still does. Maybe he doesn't track back as effectively as Joseph, and God forbid even Bamford. But he adds so much more to the game, doesn't he, from Leeds' point of view? When you look at his goals to minutes on the pitch ratio, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is absolutely amazing. But maybe, again, we spoke about this, didn't we, recently? Maybe Farke's found that sweet spot in terms of how he's playing Peru at the moment.
Yeah.
Are we really going to get the best out of him? Over 60 minutes, between 60 and 90 minutes. I'm sure he wants that length of time on the pitch, but maybe he's just found that sweet spot in terms of how he's most effective Peru at the moment. Perhaps in that last 15 to 20 minutes, and he's showing that, isn't he? He's coming on, he's scoring goals on a regular basis.
I've always kind of wanted it to be the other way around, where it's like Joseph grinding them down for 60 odd minutes, and then you get Peru coming on when they're tired, when he's not having to do what Peru does, what Joseph does, which Peru sort of struggles a little bit with. I mean, how do you see it now? I don't see him coming out now, which I think is. It's harsh on Joseph, and I think there are going to be games coming up where Peru is, as we coined last season, Peronimus. But I do think that's going to happen, and I do wonder then the decision that the manager will sort of make. Will he stick or twist? Because what you don't want to be doing is changing the striker, sort of every 2 to 3 weeks.
I'll be honest with you, Conor, I'm liking it as it is at the moment. I think it's effective the way it's working. I think it's important that we give Joseph time to build his game, and get used to this championship level. He didn't have that at all last year, and at least Farke's doing that now. He's investing in Joseph big time. He's giving him the time that he needs on the pitch. He's not been lucky with goals at the moment. He's had quite a few opportunities to stick the ball in the net, and he's had a rush of blood to the head at the crucial moment. But that time will come.
He's been good as well, though, hasn't he? He has been really good.
The way he works really, really hard, and he's a handful. I'm sure he must be a nightmare to play against. He's very physical. He just needs that break, and I'm sure it'll come. He's in an odd kind of way. He'll probably do what Bamford does. He'll go on a like an 8 to 10 game run where he's not scored, and then he'll have a purple patch, won't he, where he's scoring every game for half a dozen games. You can just see it happening that way. You
can.
And if Peru's contributing the way he is, and Ramazan is now starting to chip in.
Solomon and James going to be back hopefully as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously we've not spoken about the little bit of a gap we've got in the middle at the moment with Gruev and Ampadu missing, but the game against Sunderland, we coped very well with that.
Well, I think it's key as well because Sheffield United is going to be a big test. We know that they're probably the best team in the division. If we'll face, I think so far, I think it'll be the strongest test. But I can't see them coming to play Leeds. I think it would be naive of them to do so. I think they're going to come, sit back, and then probably very similar to what we saw with Bielsa and the Basham goal at Ellen Road a couple of years. And he will have a fire in his belly, won't he? And I think the fire in his belly will be starting purely because of Mr. Jayden Bogle, who we didn't want to lose.
Of course, yeah, well, he will.
And Hamer, don't forget Hamer when he was vexed about that transfer, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he
bit
didn't
of needle
start
there.
the other day, did he, Hamer?
Well,
on the bench.
Well, you know why, don't you? Because he's on 4 yellow cards and he's saving him, isn't he?
Saving him for Leeds, yeah. Be interesting to see how it goes, I'm expecting us to win. I think we're really going to be up for that game. It's an important game against Sheffield United. We win that, and we're Sunderland lose, we're top of the tree, aren't we? So
is it important right now? Because obviously they've been -2, and if they were to beat us, and then Sunderland to win. I think Sunderland have got a good game coming up. I can't remember who it is, but I think it's winnable. Sunderland to win. Then it's 6 points between us and Sunderland and Sheffield.
And you don't want that gap, do you? You know, we know it's really early doors.
When do we talk about the gap? When do we talk about the gap, though? The gap can't increase to that, can it, really? You've got to kind of keep it to 2 or 3.
And also remember the gap that opened up very quickly last year. You know, that gap, with Leicester and the way they were moving ahead and striding ahead, you know, I mean, that was a difficult one to close, and eventually we did. So sometimes these gaps, even though it's 6 points, Con, it's well within our reach, even if it did come to that.
Yeah, definitely. Got some walkers here. See, Dad as a content creator's father isn't used to these awkward moments yet.
No, that's it.
So I think it's going to be a real good test for Leeds, and if we come through it, win. We've beaten them throughout the last 4 times, you know, Sheffield United. It does feel in the back of your head. We've beaten them last 2 times.
I'm surprised at that.
Yeah, beat them at Bramall Lane, and we had them in the Premier League, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we beat them at Bramall Lane, and I think we beat them at Ellen Road as well.
Yeah,
so
they've always been tight, tough games, haven't they?
Yeah, I remember the game years ago. I think it was Bielsa's first season. Where do you remember the goalkeeper passed it out? And Pablo put it in the back of the net. He passed it to Pablo Hernandez, Dean Henderson.
Yeah, and I remember a famous one many, many years ago before you were born, kind of when we were back in the old 2nd division. And that was another fight between us and Sheffield United in terms of getting up out of the division. And I remember having a sleepless night before going down to Ellen Road, and I think we beat them at home 4-1 that day. And that was a crucial game in getting back up to the top flight.
And there was the one, obviously, Strachan, wasn't it, to win the title?
He did his celebration on the advertising boards. Yeah.
So it's going to be. I mean, it's Solomon back and James back's going to be big, but we're going to have to come through it. It's going to be a tough game, I think.
Yeah. And let's be honest, this is maybe the end of a tough period for us when you think about it.
It's a winnable period, isn't it now?
It's been a tough period, and we couldn't get these 2 games behind us, and the fixtures are looking a little bit more kindly. So we've actually done really, really well. You know, the future's looking bright, Connor.
Do you think it's fair to say that there's sort of like points average of, 9 games and 4 wins? I think in the next 9 games, it can't be 4 wins, can it? It's got to be looking at your 6 and 7s as averages if you want top 2.
Again, I'm sure that's where Farker's looking at it.
Yeah.
You know, he'll have looked at this stretch of games, realised it was quite a difficult start for us. We've got through it very well. We've only had 1 defeat. We didn't deserve that defeat. So, things are looking good, and I'm sure he'll be looking at this and really thinking, right, this is an opportunity for us after this 3rd international break, really to get a run together and start to pull in the points.
Momentum, doesn't it? Kills momentum a little bit.
It does, and it does stymie the interest in the game a touch as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're just hoping to just get this behind us, and then it's a good long stretch of games right up until March. I don't think we've got another break before March. I think that's the next one.
Yeah. Can you see Solomon coming back in at all?
Not at the moment.
You can't drop Nonso, can you?
No, absolutely not. Ramazani, how can you drop him? Ramazani, I don't know where we are on the goals ratio at the moment. Peru's going to be out in front, obviously.
He's on 5 or 6.
But Ramazani's probably following that up. He's had a couple, so you can't drop him. Solomon's not scored for Leeds. Why would he get ahead of that?
Yeah.
It's not about how much.
Got one against Hull, didn't he?
Well, it's not about how much we're paying the lad. It's not about that, and that's why we've got to play him. Unless Tottenham have said they're expecting minutes from him, which I don't think they would do. That's not the way we play it at Leeds.
I'm just hoping it's not like the old 50 grand a week, so he has to play.
I don't think it will be. I don't think it will.
And he's not our player.
No,
ultimately, he's not our player.
And Ramazani is, so we've got to be invested in his future and developing him as a player. So no, I think it's all looking good, isn't it? It's a shame it's a shame we've got the injuries. On the downside, looking at this, the worry we've got to have is if we pick up another injury or 2, then all of a sudden, like we say, the depth of the squad starts to be tested. So all we can hope is that, the next...
Yellow cards as well. Rodon gets a yellow card. It's James DeBayo, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's
DeBayo against Watford.
And it just shows you. It really does. That close. But this is the same for every team. I remember listening to the Norwich game, and I actually had the Norwich feed and listening to their commentators, and they were struggling with injuries as well. So it's the same with every squad. We know what the Championship's like.
Who have you been most impressed with so far that we've played? Can you see any teams that we've played so far maybe breaking that 3, because there's normally the 3 that comes down. We broke it, to be fair, because we've not come down, and it looks like we're still one of the 3. But who's impressed you?
Sunderland looked comfortable, didn't they? The first 15-20 minutes, they looked comfortable, but they always are going to. They're at home, they're in front of a big crowd, they've got a head of steam there. No, in all honesty, Connor, I think the teams that I've seen us play, even though we lost against Burnley, we were the better team for sure. No, we should have and this is the next big test, isn't it? Because Sheffield United, we don't know what they're like. I think they're still unbeaten, Connor, as well, aren't they? Aren't they the only remaining team that's unbeaten in the Championship?
Yeah, they've not lost, have they?
So that's going to be a big win for us if we get it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where we are, but I've not been particularly impressed with anybody so far. It's a bit of a purple patch for Sunderland.
Borough?
Yes, we got Borough. Yeah, absolutely. That game in the League Cup, I thought they looked very impressive in the second half.
Yeah, they did really
and
well.
there's no argument saying, well, we dropped X amount of players because it was the same for them as well.
Yeah, they dropped 8, didn't they?
So they look very impressive, and they're there or thereabouts at the moment, aren't they? I think they lost last time out, but yeah, been impressed with Borough.
Borough, yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll leave it there. It's been a bit of a little fun little show / podcast, but yeah, it's the surrounding area is beautiful. I'm just there doing the old gimmick, aren't I, with the. But I think it's probably better sitting down in it, Dad. Anyway, you don't want to be walking around and dropping stuff and all this sort of stuff. Get the sarnies out. Right, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll see you in a bit.
Yeah.
Cheers.